I'm Deepak Chopra. You're watching One World with Deepak Chopra, coming to you today from Deepak home base in New York City. And my very special guest is Eric Lichtblau. And we're going to talk mostly about his new book, The Nazis Next Door: How America Became a Safe Haven for Hitler's Men. And Eric is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for another book that he did, and we'll talk about that as well. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
So, congratulations on the book.
Thank you. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Tell me, what motivated you to write this book?
You know, I had done a story about 4 years ago for the New York Times, where I work, about this secret internal history of the government's dealings with Nazis over the years, and that really piqued my interest. I mean, there were just so many fascinating details in there, not only about the kind of rank-and-file Nazis who had gotten into the country, but more senior-level guys who actually worked with the CIA, worked with the FBI as spies, and efforts many years later to try and identify these guys. And sort of from the moment I wrote that first story, I knew I wanted to write a book about this.
So how many Nazis got into the U.S. after the war?
There were probably upwards of 10,000, believe it or not.
With the government's knowledge?
Not all with the government's knowledge, but there were certainly several thousand with the government's knowledge, and probably 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 who got in on their own just by using fake names, by disguising their pasts, by saying I was a farmer during the war or a POW and not disclosing that you were an SS officer. That would be the majority, but there were several thousand who came in with the government's not only knowledge but invitation as scientists, and also a smaller number as spies and informants, because these were seen as people who were useful against the Soviets, and it was all about the Cold War by the late 40s and 1950s.
No ethical considerations then?
That doesn't seem to have played a part, no. No, I mean, I looked through thousands and thousands of war crime files, once classified CIA files, and what you see over and over again is the findings that so-and-so was probably involved in minor war crimes. That was the phrase they used for the Nazis, but we think he would be useful as a spy anyway because, you know, he has contacts in the communist, in anti-communist movements and things like that. So, you know, morality and ethics were not a consideration in those early years. And even many years later, I write in the book about how in the 1980s and 1990s, the agencies were actively trying to cover up their connections to these people in the 1950s. They went to great lengths to really obstruct investigations by the Nazi hunters who were trying to identify these guys 30 and 40 years later.
So we went to war to get rid of the Nazis.
We did.
And then we recruited them to now a new enemy.